Hello everyone and welcome back, and we've got a special segment lined up for you where we'll be in touch and talking with renowned investor as well as entrepreneur Kunal Shah of Cred. Kunal, thank you so much for taking time out and being with us on ET Now. I'm just going to start off by, understanding the kind of impact that we've seen on the back of the lockdown. We'd spoken as well about the festive cheer and how you had definitely seen the overall impact in credit card spends recovering to those pre-COVID levels. It's been a few months since then, hopes of the vaccine. Things are definitely seeing more progress on that front. So what's the status right now at Cred by way of subscribers as well as the credit card users?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure. I think the pandemic has been a sort of a way of life. We've been working from home. The company has done reasonably well. We have grown our member base from 3 million that we had sometime last year to 6 million, approximately 6 million. And we have also just closed our Series C funding of $81 million. But the bigger news that I have to share with you guys is that we've announced an ESOP buyback of $1.2 million, approximately 9 crores. And this is unusual for a startup that is just 2 years old. We are actually quite happy to have created value for our team members. And as a founder, this is the most fulfilling time when you are able to create value for shareholders in form of team members or your investors. And I think, fortunately for the customer segment that we chose, the impact of pandemic has not been very severe. We have seen the spends completely recover. We've seen consumption during Diwali to be all-time high compared to what we've seen on credit card spends before. But it's also largely fueled by mostly people working from home in this segment. And now everybody needs 4 devices because everybody is working from home or studying from home in some ways. And I think a lot of consumption has kind of been fueled largely based on that. We were fortunate to also be sponsors for IPL during this period, and we took that bet, and that kind of worked out well for us. We saw a lot of growth because coming from that. And at this point of time, we have just kind of progressed and launched multiple monetization features, 6-7 months into it, and seeing very positive traction on each of them. So overall, can't complain about 2020.
Well, good for you. You've been one of those companies that have managed to pivot, re-strategize, and really take advantage of what this lockdown has brought about by way of digital opportunity. Now, Kunal, you touched upon that Series C fundraising, and that has taken your valuation almost doubled to $800 million from what we saw at about $450 million just a year ago. And this brings your company, which is just 2 years old, mind you, very close to being a unicorn. Is that on the anvil? Do you think we'll see that in 2021?
I think it's only important to think about when the company turns profitable or kind of get to a public listing. All the intermediate stages of evaluations are actually don't mean much. It's just that investors believe in what you're doing and supporting us. Fortunately, we had a lot of existing investors back the company, which is a very strong positive sign. Well, a lot of other investors wanted to come in. We actually saw massive positive traction from the existing investors itself. Valuation, honestly, unicorn, no unicorn. I'm too old for worrying about some of these stats right now. I am mostly focused on building an institution that is going to probably last beyond me, and all of these stages will not matter.
You're too old to worry about the tag of a unicorn. Then what is it that, would perhaps make you happy or would, help you, give you that satisfaction? Is it, as you were talking about, creating value for your shareholders and team members?
Yes. And also we've embarked on this mission of making it rewarding for people to be creditworthy and trustworthy, right? Like, this is a much bigger mission that we've embarked on. We just currently talk about credit card bill payment, but eventually we want our members to benefit. And because our members will benefit, more people will want to care about their scores, their credit scores, improve their financial literacy, and have financial progress. All of us will do well if the country's per capita income grows. All of us will do well if more consumption happens. And more consumption requires better financial literacy, better understanding of money, and better relationship with money, which seems to not be the case so far, because 95% of all credit card owners for the first time in their family are the ones who have a credit card, and they have not really figured out how to do it well. And I think some of us who've been using a card for maybe more than 2 decades have at a very different level of maturity to a lot of consumers who've had it for the last few years. And our goal is to really ensure that these instruments become a method for them to do financial progress versus having any negative effects to their financial life.
Yes, indeed. Still perhaps far from that. And I just want to understand that apart from what you guys are doing in order to ensure that there will be better financial literacy and there will be growth in digital payments, how have you looked at the measures that have been taken by the government on this front as well as for the startup community in terms of during these very challenging times?
I think overall, the way the country has responded in every possible way of digital intervention, I think it's been phenomenal. I think there are so many new things that got done in the period of time, especially if you talk about the regulator RBI, like they allowed so many interesting initiatives that were kind of stuck before, and now because of pandemic, they kind of allowed video KYC and getting a lot of these things that were kind of currently stuck in moving fast enough. The government was really fast to respond, and honestly, we really did not feel the pain because a lot of the initiatives just kind of quickly adapted to that. Like, I don't see many of us will go to bank branches to do many things. And almost all our consumption, all our payments, all our wealth management has moved to digital methods. And in some ways, COVID was an accelerator of future in some ways. And I think we have all living that version of future already in a really fast manner.
Yes, indeed. We are certainly making that shift and that pivot. Now, earlier, when the pandemic began, Cred launched those new features, the Cred Rent Pay, which essentially allows members to pay a monthly rent with their credit cards. I found that particularly interesting. And there was the Cred Stash as well, designed for this, to have seamless digital way to get credit in India. Tell us how both of these have performed. What has really been the response? Do you think COVID, in a way, has helped?
Both of them have done quite well. In fact, we launched Cred Store and Cred Pay are two other features that we've launched in this period of time. And all of them seem to be doing well. I think digital adoption in this customer base was already quite high. Just offering more services got them interesting. You mentioned about rent being interesting. Yes, I think pioneering this category has been quite useful because not only the customers who have cash flow challenges are using the product, but also people who are trying to maximize their points or kind of maximize their spend limits to kind of get the benefit of that are all using this feature. And we are still at a very small level of awareness and penetration. We are 6-7 months into the journey, but my belief is that so many new categories are going to get in this thing. We've launched business expenses on credit card. We've kind of launched, we can pay your staff salary on credit card and all of those things. So most of these things will become very powerful in days to come. But coming back to your question, monetization features are very young in the company, and we'll see more and more opportunities with cross-sell on this platform where we are either interacting with the merchant ecosystem or the banking and financial institutions to kind of cross-sell more products on the platform.
Okay, that sounds fairly interesting. And Kunal, I want to talk about financials as well. I do remember that in FY19, the revenue was nil and the company burned close to 64 crores, but you operated for very few months in that financial year. And of course, you said that that was a deliberate choice because the company was focusing on scale rather than revenue generation. But you also touched upon the point about being important to churn profitability. So what's the company's game plan on that front? Give us a sense as to what the CapEx has been during these COVID months and when you're expected to see a complete turnaround in financials.
Like you talked about it being a deliberate choice, I think it's we continue to do that even for one more year. Even last year was largely about investing, about creating the consumer base and distribution. We turned our monetization button only in April, May this year, so you will see that outcome of that in the next financial year. But very, very strong positive traction, I would say, at this point of time. Although it's very early, we believe that the company will do well. Fortunately for digital companies, does not require a large manpower force to require to kind of operate some of these companies. So we are very fortunate to have a controlled burn on some of these initiatives, but we are consciously investing in growth of user base and creating more and more of that. And our investors have been very patient with us because they see the opportunities clear and present, and the early data on monetization is clearly supporting all our hypotheses that we had in the past. And we are not too worried about worrying about burn, because in this category of financial services, profits are out there, the profit pools exist. It's just about getting our share of it.
Okay. All right. So we are likely to see a turnaround soon, and you're talking about that complete focus on, growth in the user base.
Yeah.
Kunal, let's get in a sense as to what are the kind of brands as well that you're looking at. There's a lot of them, 1,300 plus, I understand, the likes of Starbucks, Tag, Eat Fit, Nykaa. Is it going to be that focus on a lot of the e-commerce boost or that you will look at in terms of reward payments?
We have been focused on a lot of the known brands, and we've also focused on a lot of D2C brands. One of the big initiatives that has happened is that because of our store and Cred Pay initiative, we've seen hundreds of upcoming brands which currently struggle to get customers to discover them or even try them have actually done extremely well on Cred. We've worked with so many brands that were otherwise not discovered and kind of done by small like really small setup and of founders who have kind of ventured, and we are very fortunate to see them do well, because ultimately if we can create maybe 1,000, 2,000 brands to prosper because of their connection to these members kind of becoming easy, and affluent customers are also post I would say pandemic has created this new behavior of discovering new brands and trying new things, right? So they want to try the new cookies and new cheese, and also bring about kind of new stuff for their homes and their home offices and so on and so forth. We believe that our focus on working with merchant categories, which are already established brands, and helping them get kind of frequency and engagement, we're also creating a huge opportunity in creating trials for a lot of the upcoming brands in D2C segment.
And you've spoken a number of times, Kunal, about this concept of sachet commerce, WhatsApp payments ready to explode, and how these, the coming years are going to be all about microtransactions getting a boost online. Tell us a little bit more about this sachet revolution and how you see it really transforming financial services in India.
I may be kind of jumping the gun on saying sachet commerce, because WhatsApp payments is not kind of rolled out to the level that we would want it to be. But we have to remember that if transferring money becomes as easy as transferring pictures and video, the amount will not matter, and people will kind of do interesting ways of transacting between two people. A lot of homegrown businesses will find it very easy to sell. A lot of home bakers will kind of suddenly make a huge business out of doing some of these small value transactions. But interestingly, digital products will also become big. We should not be surprised if few astrologers become very, very popular and do really well for getting astrology recommendations done on sachet commerce basis. So my view is that when transacting on digital mediums becomes seamless and easy, especially for small value transaction, which are otherwise complicated, like using a card for, let's say, a 10 rupee transaction or a 40 rupee transaction may not be a desirable behavior. But as soon as it becomes super easy to just kind of do a 10, 20, 50, 100 rupees transaction, more new categories will emerge. And we'll see this kind of applying to insurance. We'll see this to investment. We'll see that kind of trickling down to many, many sectors where small value transactions will become a norm that will be done. Tons of them will be done on a daily basis.
Okay, that will be interesting. Perhaps looking at categories like astrology, home bakers really growing their businesses via this concept of sachet commerce that you're talking about. It's also very interesting about India being the fourth internet, and that's a concept that's been talked of quite often. What are your views on the same?
I think India has historically been a beneficiary of being leapfrogging into all technology that has come in. And I think more and more consumption behavior is likely to kind of migrate or jump to digital faster than many countries. And we'll see more and more of that. But the bigger issue that seems to be not addressed well is the growth of per capita income. We have all the data, we have all the smartphones, we have all the delivery networks built out. The consumption capacity of the mass India is just not kind of keeping up. And that is largely because of the lower female participation of labor. Less than 8% of urban Indian women work versus, let's say, 92% in China or 60% in Bangladesh. Even Pakistan seems to be higher than India. And I think as soon as we see the per capita income growth go up as female financial independence or dual income households grow, we'll see all of these kind of play out and all the startups will take off, because the behavior and ability to transact online already seems to exist at many places, but the frequency doesn't exist because there is lack of capitals to be able to do consumption.
And, Kunal, the company has definitely grown by leaps and bounds. We're talking about the kind of valuations you command, the very healthy user base that the company holds. So let's look down the road then. Say the next 5 years to 7 years, what's the future of Cred? Where do you see the company headed? What kind of an organization would you like to be at the helm of?
That's a very hard question. I would wish that if we can truly create value for members for being trustworthy in many, many dimensions of life, we would be very happy. And I think as soon as we create value for our members, there'll be automatic value creation for our team members and our investors that will follow. If more and more people care about them being trustworthy and creditworthy, more and more people care about being financially savvy and literate and not do mistakes that seem to be happening right now. And more people think about not keeping money lying on their account, but actually earning higher interest or higher investment potential. We'll see this kind of creating a wealth opportunity that we have never seen in this country before. And I think focusing on this segment, which is the most important segment of consuming class right now, will drive the next level of consumption.
Okay, so that's the game plan. That's the long-term future plan for Cred. Kunal, I can't help but also ask, something that you spoke about, this financial literacy issue as well. And we have seen, this, cybercrime, personal data of people, credit, debit card holders, lots of them leaked. You continuously see issues of that. Is that going to present itself as well as a huge hurdle for Cred?
I think the importance of data privacy and thing is paramount for any company to do well in financial services. It's a non-negotiable. But thankfully, because of the regulatory environment, the consumers are quite protected over here. For example, unlike any other market, the credit card transactions require a compulsory OTP. So even if somebody takes your card number, they really cannot transact with that, and all of this stuff is actually really protected for the consumers. But the point is, should the companies be focusing and investing on of that? The answer is absolutely yes. You've seen the UPI revolution. It's largely backed because of strong architecture and strong data network that we've built. And we've seen billions of transactions happening on a monthly basis. Not be surprised if transactions happen on a daily basis on that platform, largely because of the super secure infrastructure that has been created, which is somewhat protected from a lot of these blips that we see, which used to be a matter of past, where a lot of the stuff would be like, hey, my money just moved and all of that. A lot of that stuff has been controlled, and every company, including Cred, will invest and continues to invest a bulk of their capital to kind of build strong infrastructure to take care of security.
Yeah, that's going to definitely be paramount for the growth of your company. Now, an interesting point. I mean, I can't help but compliment you guys on the ads that I've seen. From Alka Yagnik, Jim Sarab, Anil Kapoor to even Govinda. Those ads are really, really catchy. So, what else can we see on the ad front? Have you got any other interesting personalities lined up? What are the ad spends like?
I think ads work when we continue to surprise, and I think we will make sure that we will kind of keep raising the bar. We'll try, but we've been very fortunate to take some non-conventional methods to approach advertising, and that has paid off. Consumers of this segment appreciate people kind of taking a non-standard approach, and I think that has been really working out well for us.
Which has been your favorite, Kunal, among all of those personalities that have rocked up in the ads?
I wish I could pick one, but we've recently launched T-shirts with a lot of these things. We recently launched a Buppy T-shirt where there's a line which says "You are my CVV."